time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
So, folks, in 2012, the people of Luzerne County decided to change the form of government from the county commissioners to a council. Is it working, folks? Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Lesante. Thank you for joining us in the Sam Lesante Show. We are here at Luzerne County Court, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at, was the council the right thing to do? My guest today, the county manager, Bob Lawton, the chairman of the council, Rick Morelli, and Honorable Judge Thomas Burke is here. And there's three branches here, folks. We're talking about the legislative branch, we're talking about the executive branch, and of course the judicial branch. Is it working? Well, let me go to the man himself. Bob, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Sam. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for having me here at the courthouse.
Well, you're a member of the public. You're always welcome at the Luzerne County Courthouse.
Of course, I couldn't be in a better chambers with Judge Burke's chambers, of course.
It's a nice place. I've been measuring for furniture myself lately.
Good. Bob, I'm going to ask you this, okay? There's no question, my good friend Rick Morelli and I had some debates when this move was from the county commissioners to the council. I did not think it was a good thing, okay? I thought we should have stayed with the county commissioners. Now, let me ask you this, Bob. Why do you think this was the best move for Luzerne County?
I think the changes that have taken place with respect to hiring, with respect to contracts, I think it's a clear winner for the people of Luzerne County. People don't get jobs with the county because of who they know or who made a phone call or who brought their application in for them. We look to hire the best people for the jobs, whether they're from Luzerne County or any place else. It's my job to make sure that we get the highest quality talent. It's also my job to make sure that we have the most competitive acquisition process for contracts and bidding. You know, we recently went to a new banking partner for the county, and there was a request for proposals, and the people who made the decision are people who work here at the county, who are responsible for using the system. We brought some experts in from outside to provide us with some advice and help evaluate the proposals. And at the end of the day, it wasn't made on the basis of who plays golf with who or whose kids go to school with who. It was what was the best solution for the county. And I think the more that message gets out, the more people understand that when we place an ad, we mean it. We're looking for the best deal. We're looking for the best people. And we're pretty relentless about that. And I think when you take the political side out of the equation and leave that with the council and the folks who make the policy and leave the day-to-day operations with the staff, I think it is a net plus. I think there have been some significant changes. Well,
you're the main man. I mean, everything rests with you, right? You can make any decision you want to make.
Well, obviously,
so if I like you, if I'm your friend, and you like me, isn't it the same as playing politically, and I have qualifications?
No, the county manager doesn't have a lot of friends.
Well, let's say I'm your friend.
I don't hire my friends. I don't socialize with folks. I keep to the business of the county, and it's not run that way. The voters who adopted the charter didn't trade one set of cronies for another. We don't do business that way. We don't even take fruit baskets at Christmas around here.
So, Bob, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to Luzerne County residents that the county commissioners did not bring?
I think 30 years of public sector experience in a variety of places, the ability to say or ask the question compared to what? Is this the best way to do things? It may be the way we've always done them, but is there a better way to do the job? Now, I'm not taking anything away from the commissioners who are here or in any other county. That was a decision that was made, and the responsibility has been placed in my hands. And the public is represented in the process by the members of council who are elected to make the policies. Think about it this way. The council steers the bus. It's my job to make sure the brakes are aligned, that the engine's working, that there's oil in it, the transmission's running. That's what we're trying to do. And I would love to see a council really be engaged in strategic planning. They've got a mission, vision, and principle statement. And the stronger they are in those areas, I think the better it is for the county.
So before I get to the council itself, all right, so basically you have a council that sets policies, correct?
That's what they're there for.
Okay. Now, you have input in that, right?
I provide them with my best professional advice, sometimes when they ask for it, and sometimes when I think it's really necessary to get it injected into the conversation.
Okay, so 15, right, Rick? You got 15 on the council? How many are on the council?
11.
I'm sorry, 11. So there's 11 people that run for office, okay? And when they run for office, they're out there soliciting votes.
I'm sure they are.
The county commissioners do the same thing.
I'm sure they did.
Okay, so now you have 11 people who were voted, and I happen to be a major, just hypothetically, I happen to be a major supporter of Rick Morelli and Berminski or whatever, and I provided them money, I gave them whatever they needed because I want them to be on that council. Now, a couple things happen. A couple jobs pop up. Rick, Jimmy Burke, he's a nice guy. I'd like to see if he could get this job. He has the qualifications. Does that count? Isn't that political to a degree?
Doesn't count with me.
No?
And
That hasn't happened?
No.
Okay.
So I have not made any decision based upon what's good for a council member or what's good for somebody's contributors. I don't operate from fear. There are 11 council members, and as long as I have the ability to keep serving, I will. But I don't make decisions worrying about if somebody's going to like this on the council or not like this on the council.
Rick, we have had this discussion, and I just want to, these are the thoughts that people have out there, and I want to present these thoughts.
Sure.
Okay, you and I have some concerns about this, and you did a lot of research, when you supported this form of government. What have you seen? You're chairman now. I don't know if you'll be chairman this year or whatever. What have you seen on the board? Is it political? Now, you have your 5 and 6 and, you have these votes, et cetera. Is it coming down to a political situation?
Again, I won't call it political. Anytime you have 5, 7, 9, 11, you're going to have personality. So it has nothing to do with political, Republicans, Democrats. You have different personalities which are going to come into play all the time. You mentioned before about people getting votes and running. Well, that's the democratic way. But there's a separation of powers in this position. We are not in the hiring process. So when people come to us for jobs, we can't do anything. There are people who came to me and said, hey, can you help me out? And my answer is no, we can't do anything. And I was on the school board years ago, you always say, well, this is like a school board. It's not. School board members are involved in the hiring practice. Whether you agree with that or not, they are. They make the final decision. This council is not. So we've taken away the political process of hiring and firing friends. We cannot tell Bob or anybody in his department what to do. It's one of the challenges we have with council in this new home rule form of government, that people still don't understand their role, in the sense that our role is more on a higher level and that we can't get involved with the day-to-day operation. So even though people could come to us, it stops there. We can't go to the executive branch.
So you set policy. Okay. Now the correct thing would be, is what you're saying is, when you set the policy and you have faith in this man, okay, or woman, then he or she should be able to then do what the policy is, instead of you, the council, working, okay? Because I think setting policy is one thing, running it is another thing.
Sam, people mention all the time in government, you need to run it like a business. This government is set up like a business. He's the CEO of the company. We're the board of directors. The taxpayers are the shareholders. Okay, he runs the county. Our job is to oversee, make sure he's doing his job. Our job is to question him, but not to come in there and to tell him how to call the plays. Do you think Jerry Jones should be calling the plays for the Cowboys? No, he's the manager. You hire a coach. He's the coach, and that's the way this government is. The problem we have sometimes is that sometimes you do have council members who want to tell him what to do. We can give him our advice, but at the end of the day, he is hired to do his job, and if he's not doing it, that's where the council can make the decision either to keep him or to get rid of him.
Is that working on the council now, supporting the person that you have faith in, which happens to be Mr. Lawton?
Well, I think there's two ways of looking at it. And the question is it working? At the end of the day, it is working. When you take a look at 80% of what's going on in the county, things are working. The things, unfortunately, that the public maybe doesn't hear about or see. Things have changed a lot since we've been over from the previous form of government. Are there still personalities? Yeah, there's still some people who want to interfere. There are some people clearly who don't approve of Bob and want to get in, infiltrate in his in what he does. You don't understand how often he gets sidetracked with his position. Taxpayers should be sometimes upset with some council members how much they bombard him with things that are on their personal agendas versus allowing him to do his job. And that's one of the things I've seen as chair and being on council and a little bit disappointed with. But on the big picture, things are working. And just to touch upon your first question is, how are we from where we were before? We forget very shortly. Only 5 years ago, we had corruption here in the courts. We had corruption in the executive. Our debt was over $400 million. Clearly this was a place for hiring friends and family, no question about it. Within that time, we cut over 200 positions, not to say we'd like to see anyone lose their jobs. But the fact is that we're moving. We have a budget that's real numbers, not borrowing money. These are the things that people want to know about. So when you hear about council members arguing, really, I don't think the public really cares about that too much, rather than the fact that are we efficiently running the government the way they should? And are we out of the corruption? Do we see any of that? No. The thing that the people who come to our meetings and criticize us on are we're not hitting our timelines. I think most of the people would rather us miss a deadline than see the corruption we've had before.
And the reason I'm bringing these questions up is the fact that we're looking at image. And Luzerne County, certainly has come a long way, okay? And the image is, and listen, we're going to agree to disagree. There's no question about it. When I was the chairman of the community college, our job was to see that the college was properly run, not to run it. You have to have the faith in the person that you hire, okay? So there's no question you have disgruntled people. My only concern would be if it's a constructive criticism to Mr. Lawton, and I have a question for you, a concern, you answer the question, etc., and I can present my case. It's when it goes a little further that I think we have the concern as, is this working? Is it a school board situation, et cetera, et cetera? Folks, I'm here at the Luzerne County Courthouse. A lot of questions about the new council, and the question is it working? Well, we're hearing from Bob Lawton. It's my pleasure to have you. It's the first time you've been on the show. You've been avoiding me for these number of years. Rick said
I've responded to every invitation you've sent me.
Okay, and we have Rick. And of course, can we come back and talk to the Honorable Tom Burke, who's done a fabulous job here at the courthouse. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, you get to watch all of the shows on ssptv.com. And, of course, my email is sam@ssptv.com. Folks, a lot of questions about Luzerne County form of government. Change from the commissioners, as you know. Is it working? Is it really something that we should have done? Well, I'm here at the Luzerne County Courthouse today in Judge Burke's chambers. We have Bob Lawton, who is the manager of the Luzerne County Manager. We have Rick Morelli, who is the chairman. And, of course, we have the Honorable Judge Tom Burke. I'm going to ask you something, Judge. You came in at a time when there was a lot of turmoil here, and it was challenging in a lot of respects.
The important thing was to put a focus on maintaining the business of the courts. That is, to manage the caseload under difficult circumstances, including several judicial vacancies due to judges having to resign and so forth. Secondly, it was important to make a concerted effort by and among all of our judges, including the minor judiciary. At that point, there were 17 magistrate district judges serving Luzerne County, together with, at the time, the complement was 9 judges. But the concerted effort to make every attempt to restore public trust and confidence in what we do. And the third strategic goal was to strike a balanced budget which would meet the needs of the court in servicing our citizenry. And that was a challenge 6 years ago. It continues to be a challenge today. But having said that, we have kept our focus on those 3 main areas during this past several years.
Would you say it was a crisis situation when you took over?
That sums it up very well. We were in crisis mode for several years, I dare say.
Do you feel that what has been accomplished, that we now have a judicial system that's functional and working the way it should be working?
I feel very good about where things stand at the present time. Bear in mind that on the one hand, we were fighting a war of perception, and there was no magic wand that was going to restore that public trust and confidence. During our monthly meetings and more often, our judges would discuss how important it would be to maintain transparency, to make a conscious effort to keep the docket as current as we could given the vacancies we suffered through. But along with that, we knew there were intangibles, that it was important to listen to what the man on the street was saying. At the end of the day, our jury are our citizens. And in some measure, I'm a great believer that you're only as good as the last time out, and you better be better tomorrow than you were yesterday, and better strive to do that. And that's what we set out to do.
And when you said perception, that was one of the things that many people were concerned about, or, you know, they figured everything was bad, so they got rid of everybody. And we don't know whether that was one of the major reasons why they got rid of the form of government, the commissioners, and then going to, you know, a council form. We don't know whether that was perceptions. At the time, all of you judges were put under a microscope, all right? How did that make you feel as a judge at that time?
Well, I didn't give it a lot of extra thought for the simple reason I always subscribed to the belief that no one would hold me more accountable than I would hold myself. And I believe our colleagues have demonstrated the same gumption and desire that they're going to set their standards as high as possible. And of course they're going to be scrutinized, but if you have those high standards, then at the end of the day, there shouldn't be too much to criticize.
How the court's running today?
We're glad to acknowledge that the caseload is current. Going back to when calamity struck, the caseload seemed to burgeon, and the activity level seemed to screech to a halt. Lawyers were somewhat reluctant to have trials with all the uncertainty that was taking place. And as matters settled down, concentrated effort by the many good lawyers at our bar, along with the courts, we have brought the docket current. And I dare say that includes civil, family court, as well as criminal. And we, even in saying that, we have some initiatives that we'll be looking at for calendar year 2015 that we hope will increase efficiency beyond where it now stands.
Now, before I ask you the question about your relationship with the new form of government, how do you think the perception now of the citizens of not only Luzerne County, but of your local counties as far as our court is concerned? What do you think the perception is?
Well, my understanding is that our neighbors in Lackawanna, Monroe, and Lycoming and surrounding counties believe things are going in the right direction in Luzerne. There was a time where they were a little hesitant to make that assessment, but we interact with our colleagues at the State Judicial Conference and other seminars and hear good things. At the same time, we recognize that ultimately, once again, our jury are the citizens. And one is hopeful that while on the one hand there will always be some cynical views that won't ever trust the courts again, and maybe never did in the first place, but we certainly gave them reason to be distrustful 6 and 7 years ago. But at this point, we believe that there is a more confident view and that we've made a lot of progress.
Now, I want you to take your judge's cap off right now, and I want to ask you a personal question as Tom Burke, the person that I know for many, many years, and the person who has compassion and feeling. You come from a wonderful family, okay? What was your personal feelings at the time when this thing was happening with your fellow peer, the judges, etc., people that you knew? Your personal feelings.
The entire experience was devastating, humiliating, and shameful. But having said that, there's a great resiliency that took hold, and people were simply not going to let a small handful of wrongdoers give this entire county a black eye. And I'm very proud of the effort that our colleagues made. Those judges who served on an interim basis, we had some appointed judges, Judge Wetzel, Cosgrove, Van Jura. We had some tremendous senior judges from out of town that helped us through some difficult times. And the judges who came on the court during these past 5 years have been nothing short of outstanding.
I couldn't agree with you more. Folks, I'm talking to Judge Tom Burke and Rick Morelli and Bob Lawton. Come back, I'm going to start with Judge Burke as to how he plays in this three-part arrangement here we have for the Luzerne County government. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, this is part one of a show we're doing on Luzerne County, new form of government with the council. I'm here at the Judge Burke's chambers in Luzerne County Courthouse with Bob Lawton, who is the manager of the new form of government, Rick Morelli, chairman, and Judge Burke, who is in the judicial branch. Judge, I want to ask you a question. What then is your relationship with the new form of government?
We've had a very good working relationship with county management, and we believe we have been forthcoming with information as and when requested by council. And this revolves primarily around the budget process. Understand that constitutionally, the courts are a separate, equal branch of government. And Luzerne County courts actually comprise the 11th Judicial District of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are a part of the Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System. And our ultimate oversight is by and through the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. And at the same time, with the hybrid system of funding the courts that the Commonwealth has, we reach out to county government each year making a budget request. And that has been quite a grind over the past several years, under a microscope, as we should be. But it's been a fair process.
Has the county, has the manager been receptive to your needs?
Reasonably. There is always a view that we can have more security, for example, and things of that nature. And the concern isn't just for judges, it's for any and all of our citizens who avail themselves of the various services throughout Luzerne County, including all of our magisterial district offices, of which there are now 16. Security is always a concern, and knowing how tragedies tend to happen these days. But all things considered, they have met our needs reasonably.
Okay. Folks, I'm here at the Luzerne County Courthouse. As I said, this is part one of the show I'm having with Bob Lawton, who is the manager, Rick Morelli, chairman, and Honorable Judge Burke. We come back next week. We're going to continue on our discussion. And really, is it working? We'll see you next time.